My name is Emily, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in a household where love was abundant and laughter echoed through the walls. We did everything together: family dinners, movie nights, and even shared the passion for collecting dolls. I've always had a thing for collecting dolls: porcelain dolls, vintage dolls, rag dolls, you name it. They are like silent companions that witnessed every moment of our lives. However, amid the happiness, a sharp difference existed in my best friend Mia's life. Her parents were frequently absent, leaving her isolated in their large vacant house. I would invite her to come over, but her resentment toward my family's closeness was noticeable. Smoking was not allowed in my house, something my parents made clear. When she visited, her eyes would fixate on our tight bond, showing her unease. It was confusing, but I never had the courage to inquire further. One weekend, I decided to leave for a short trip. Little did I know that this would mark the beginning of a nightmarish spiral. When I returned, the walls of my home seemed to hold a heavy, haunting silence. A profound sense of dread enveloped me as I received the devastating news. My mother's lifeless body had been discovered, her life cruelly taken as she lay strangled in the heart of our once happy living room. The horror intensified as I learned that my father's fate had taken a sinister turn too. His car had careened off the road in an eerie accident that defied all logical explanation. I couldn't help but wonder, were these two harrowing events connected? It seemed inevitable. A gnawing question plagued my thoughts: who could commit such heinous acts? The weight of grief pressed down on me as I sat in my room, shattered. Suddenly a sound, a noise emanating from my Furby, jolted me from my thoughts. A garbled scream pierced the air, a sound I recognized all too well. It was my mother's voice, filled with terror. And beneath that, a faint whisper, almost inaudible but hauntingly familiar, Mia's voice. As the recording played on, my mind raced, connecting the dots in a horrifying revelation. The Furby had unknowingly captured the moment of my mother's murder, her screams echoing through the device's speakers, and in the background, Mia's voice, faint but undeniable, forming a horrifying backdrop to the tragedy. Rage and grief fused within me, a maelstrom of emotions too intense to bear. Mia, my best friend, had betrayed me in the most unimaginable way. A week later, I decided to talk to Mia directly. The fire of vengeance burning within me obliterated any inclination to pardon or erase from memory. The mere prospect of jail felt like an undeserved mercy for her, so I went to her house. She was sitting on her bed and I stood in front of her holding the Furby, my hand shaking. She looked confused and offended when I accused her of murdering my mom. When I played the recording, the room seemed to shrink, as if the walls were closing in on us. It was clear that Mia knew what she was hearing. In a quiet, almost hushed voice, Mia said, "You're better off without them." In that moment, a realization struck me. She had killed my father's too. As the recording ended, I felt a primal urge, a desire for vengeance that eclipsed all reason. The Furby, once my innocent companion, became an instrument of retribution. I raised it, striking Mia repeatedly, the weight of my grief and fury pouring into each blow. She crumpled to the ground, a puppet with its strings severed. In that moment, I lit one of her cigarettes and watched as the embers danced before releasing it onto her bed. Flames licked at the fabric, a consuming inferno that mirrored the rage within me. As the room caught fire, my heart felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. Walking away from the house, flames painting the sky behind me, a smile played upon my lips. The agony of loss, the betrayal of a friend, they had birthed something new within me, something dark and unrelenting. As the sirens wailed in the distance, my steps grew lighter, and I knew that even though Mia's punishment was swift, the ghosts of our shared past would haunt her long after the flames were extinguished.